Welcome back, everybody. I am very excited to officially make a public announcement for our platform that has been in development for roughly 4 months now, Silent Snow AI. So getting right into it, those of you who have been around the channel for a while probably already know what this is going to be about. For those of you that are new to the channel, first of all, hello and welcome. If you are new to this channel and a subscriber, odds are you've seen our skin refinement videos. And so roughly 4 months ago, we released a workflow on Patreon called the Mega Skin Refiner workflow. So while that workflow is really good when used correctly, there were definitely a lot of issues identified by the community, stuff that we should have foreseen and things that we didn't foresee. So overall, I think we were able to get it to work for a lot of people. But obviously, we aim to deliver stuff to you guys that works as intended. And so that is really where this platform is birthed from. So Silent Snow AI is an AI workflow platform, which at present is specifically designed to compete against enhancers, skin refinement. But even beyond that, this platform will serve as a really good hub for our community to generate using some of the complex workflows that we aim to make moving forward, and complex pipelines, generation en masse, overall just getting quick access to high performing workflows. And so those of you who have used the Mega Skin Refiner in the past may be kind of huffing and puffing because, as I said, the Mega Skin Refiner had issues of its own. But what I will say is that we've really taken the workflows back to the drawing board. We definitely heard a lot of the complaints, which should mostly be solved by us hosting the workflows. But even beyond that, in terms of the workflow's actual performance, we've taken a lot of that into consideration and looked deeper into it. And so the result are the two workflows that we have available on the platform right now, Real Skin V2 and V3. So I'm going to get this out of the way right now for our Patreon members and those who have paid for the workflows in the past. You may now be thinking, okay, well, will we see these workflows on Patreon in the future? The answer is no. You will not see these two workflows delivered on Patreon just because they are exclusive to the platform. However, as we continue to develop on Real Skin and different models become outdated, we do intend to release those to the Patreon member community. And beyond that, I did also allude to the fact that we do still have a workflow for you guys. So we will be releasing a new Comfy UI Skin Refiner workflow that builds off of the Mega Skin Refiner and aims to fix a lot of the problems that had. But that workflow is not going to be better than what we have here on the website. So just wanted to get that out of the way right now before we get into it. So without further ado, let's get into it. So we'll start off with the big question, what are we offering here? So we have the two Real Skin workflows that I mentioned, V2 and V3, that we're going to look at here in just a minute. We have an image upscaling workflow that is pretty solid. We'll look at a result from that. Then we also have an infinite character generator, which is a really interesting workflow. I think it's something that we'll definitely need to build on, but still does a solid job, and we'll look at that a little bit as well. So first and foremost, let's start with V2. So one of the big problems that our previous workflows had is that they're kind of complicated. There's a lot going on, a lot of moving parts. And so we really wanted to make a workflow that was just stupid simple. You got one slider and one section to upload your image, and that's it. And so this workflow does a pretty good job. We can do an example here. So I'll go ahead and load up my image, which in this case is 1024 by 1024. And so all of the workflows by default are set to their best default settings. And so like I said, with this workflow, no need to select, the face, mouth, eyes, nose, or anything like that. You can just load up your image and hit generate. And so we'll see the queue pop up. And so what we can expect is something like this. And so it's a perfect time to talk about a few quality of life things that we integrated. So first, obviously, you can full screen to just see your full output. So we can take a minute to look at this. First and foremost, character consistency, definitely there. The skin looks really nice. The lips look really good. And these little kind of forehead dots too really sell it, I think. And so we also do have a compare slider that you can turn on. And so you can look at it here in this view, or you can go full screen and also compare it in the full screen. So as we come across, again, we can see very subtle changes, right? But definitely still that same person, definitely still that same eye color. It's just all kind of enhanced. And then when we look down at the scarf too, you can really see that it's added some detail there. Also, one thing that is really unique, I think, to the platform. One thing I've never really liked in the AI space, especially I think Kling is a really big offender of this. Granted, I haven't used them much lately, but I remember, not too long ago, sometimes you'd get just a horrific output and you had no opportunity to dispute it, even though you were using the top model. So for one job, you'd use a ton of your credits and not even get what you were looking for. And with Skin Refinement being pretty touchy and sensitive to what your settings are, we think it's only fair that you are given an opportunity to adjust your settings and try again. Like in this particular case, I honestly wouldn't even want to. Like, this looks good to me. I wouldn't even do anything else to this. But what you could do is, if for example it was too heavy, like you were up all the way at 0.3 or something, you could tone it down and then hit retry and have another generation at half off. Then another cool thing about the platform too, if your job fails, you shouldn't have to pay for that. Like if you submit a job to any platform and for whatever reason it can't come through, you should definitely get your credits back for that. So we have full refunds on all jobs that fail, regardless of what your subscription tier is, which honestly, even aside from the clear benefit of getting your money back for something that didn't work, there obviously puts, pressure on us to minimize the amount of errors that we get out of our workflows. So I think it's really a win for everybody. I mean, yeah, truthfully, it's a bit of a hit, but I think it's only a fair hit, to be honest. And so with that in mind, what I will say is that this is actually not like public access as of now. You do have to currently sign up for a waitlist, which you can get to in the link in the description. We also have a Patreon guide that goes through every single page and basically everything about this project if you want to read more and see even more examples. So the website currently is in a beta test stage where we have just a handful of users kind of using it and feeling out some of the quality of life bugs, making sure that all the bells and whistles are working correctly. And once that's done, then we can expect this to go live. But we are also more than happy to, pre-generate stuff for you guys. If, we haven't even gotten to V3 yet, but if you're sold after V3, we're more than happy to generate some images on your behalf, just so you can get a feel of what it might look like for you well before we even go live. So if you'd be interested in that, feel free to just shoot us an email, also available in the description. Just make sure you title your email something like Silent Snow AI test images or something. Another thing to keep in mind is that these images do come out slightly upscaled for you. So the input image was 1024 by 1024. This came out at 1280 by 1280. So again, not like the highest quality output, because we do have an upscaler that you can also use. But if we look closely, like it definitely looks good. These pimples look really great. Almost looks like there's a flake of dandruff here. The eyes look really solid. Eyebrows look good. And so here's another generation. I went up to 0.25. You can see it added, even more detail here. Some of it maybe a little too much, but still definitely looks really, really solid. I'll give you guys one more good look here. And so one thing already that we want to add to this page is the ability to blend your output image with your original input image. So I'm not going to go too deep into it, but let's say you had a starting image that already had a decent amount of detail to it and you just wanted to add more. What we want to do is, give you the ability to go higher on your detail level, but then also an image blending feature, which you'll see in V3 here in a minute, to blend with the base input so that you can get the best of both worlds. So overall, V2, very simple, very easy, very effective. So this one comes out to about 15 credits per image, and then we'll talk about pricing at the end. So one thing that's really cool as well, I think is a unique feature to the website, is this default folder up here. So what you can do is you can actually come to your dashboard and create some folders. So let's say you were working on a big project. For us, that would be This Is Fiction with Brandon FM. And let's say you have a bunch of different characters or a bunch of different images that you're trying to generate. You can also make subfolders. So say character 1, add that, character 2, add that, and you could create this. And so you'll see it populate here on the left side. So if we come back to the top here, we'll see this Is Fiction folder here. So if we were generating for say character 1, we could select the character 1 folder. And now all images that we generate across all of the workflows will automatically be saved into this folder. And so part of the reason this folder system is so cool is when you pair it with batch functionality. So for example, here I just did 2 images, and you can see when we click between these that the image automatically switches for you. And we can take a look at this result really quick. There's the before, there's the after. Super solid result here. So you can upload a bunch of images all at once, then just set your settings. Now note that these settings will apply to all of the images in your batch. So that's something that we want to break out as well, give you the ability to individually control the settings for each image you're processing. But as of right now, it's all grouped under one umbrella. So you'll set your settings and then hit start batch job. As you can see, it tells you what the cost is going to be of that batch job. So in this case, a total of 30 credits. One thing to keep in mind is that it's going to submit each job one after another, meaning if one fails, you don't have to pay for that job, and that specific charge is automatically refunded back to you. But everything that succeeds, you'll be charged for. So this is a really good way to just kind of do like a set it and forget it type deal, especially if you kind of have a big budget. I think this is a really, really fantastic way to generate a bunch of images all at once. And then again, when you pair that with the folder system and we filter to character 1, we can see both of those images resulting here in our dashboard. And then also when you're in the dashboard and you open your image, you still have the option to compare with the original. So you can kind of go back and see, okay, how did that work? So there are a few more dashboard features that we'll look at in just a little bit, but for now I want to go back to RealSkin v3. So we'll go ahead and load up the same input image that we just used. As you can see, just a little bit different here, slightly more expensive, but I think you have a ton of control with this individual model. Here is your kind of areas to maintain. Now this works exactly like Enhancer. So you would, just select exactly what you want to keep. For example, if your character has really bushy eyebrows or a really unique nose or eyes or something, you can select all that and keep that the same. Now note, just like Enhancer, it's still going to apply detail to the entire image, but it'll focus on maintaining those specific elements. And like V2, you're automatically loaded to the best default settings. So we'll go ahead and just generate this and see what we get. Okay, so we can take a look at our results. So with V3, you're always going to get 2 images back. Now the first one is always going to be kind of like a really light upscale. And so this isn't like particularly the most useful image. It's more of just like, hey, if you want to use this very soft upscale pass, through V2, or if you really just want a very, very light adjustment, this is here for you. But generally what you're going to want to look at is the second image. So here we have the original, and then as we come across, we can see all that detail being added to the hair, the lips completely refined, and overall just like a really, really clean pass across the whole face. I gotta be honest, I'm like extremely proud of this. And V3, coming back to the conversation with the Mega Skin Refiner, was specifically built to have really solid masking. The conversation of manual masking is something that we still want to add into this if you want to make your own mask. So overall, guys, this is only going to get better from here. I mean, I think one indisputable fact is that flow after flow in regard to the real skin space, we've continued to move forward, and we don't plan on stopping that anytime soon. So batch generation will also work with V3. So another really fantastic workflow here. I wanted to take a second to go through a few other examples. So we'll start with V2. So here we have the original, and as we come across, the eyebrows get a lot more realistic. The eyes look really great, especially looking at that right eye as we come across, we can see how it's kind of brought to life there. A lot of this kind of shiny artifacting has been smoothed out, but we're still kind of maintaining the original skin structure, in the sense that we can see she has, skin imperfections already. She's got the freckles here, clearly some pores on her forehead. So we can see that a lot of that is maintained really well. Here's another really great example. Here we have the original, and then as we come across, boom. And we can see that the necklace here is maintained exactly the same shape. Even the clothes are getting detailed here. Same with the hair and the eyebrows and lips. And here's our last example for V2. Kind of a lighter generation here, but still definitely adding detail, especially if we look at the forehead, getting that acne in there, those real imperfections. Now we can swap over to V3. Here's an original image that might look familiar to you guys. And as we come across, boom. So I think what's really interesting about this too is, I went really high on the settings here in terms of the detail level. Like if I would have kept my detail level lower, we could have expected a lot of these pores to stay. And we do also have that first image from the batch, right? So the one we just looked at, this one right here, this is the second kind of final image from V3. But we do also have this version. So we can see it still refines a lot of the skin, but if you really wanted to keep these pores, you could use this original image here, as we are still getting some really solid refinement. And then one thing I want to call out that is really interesting, if we look at this kind of red dot in the eye, that is also still maintained. So here's that same image we looked at earlier for V2. And as we come across, we can see the result from V3. So again, looking really solid, maintaining all those existing features while still defining and adding to the skin detail here. Here's another one that we looked at in V2. As we come across, here it is for V3. So again, looking really, really good. Still maintaining that necklace, still maintaining that character consistency, even fixed some of the weirdness here by the ear. And here's personally one of my favorite results to come out of V3 so far. Just really solid all around, brings out all that detail and still maintains all the consistency. So to be honest, I'm really excited for you guys to get your hands on this and to officially kind of get this out. I think all the feedback we got from the Mega Skin Refiner really helped propel this forward. So if this has caught your attention, definitely make sure that you are applying for the waitlist. Now I wanted to quickly touch on the Upscaler. So the Upscaler is super solid, something we're definitely going to continue to work on. I think it's a huge part of the image generation process, regardless of what you're doing, but especially for pictures of people. So that's what we've really focused on with this. I mean, you can see we have screenshots here of the eyes. Every individual hair is really defined, each pore, individual like skin freckles on the face. Same kind of goes down here by the lips. Like this is a really good shot here, you know, some kind of small individual hairs, little cracks. The lips just look fantastic in general, to be honest. And yeah, the image upscaler is really great. I mean, there's not too much to talk about with it. I'm sure it's something you guys are all pretty familiar with. The one thing I will say when this comes out is that image upscaling can take a long time, especially dependent on, you know, how much you're upscaling by. And this is also limited slightly by your subscription level, which again, we'll talk about at the end. Finally, I wanted to make a stop at the infinite character generator. So I think the infinite character generator is really almost like a step one into a much broader approach that we want to take. I think we're really focused on creating pipelines, creating full systems. And when we talk about consistent characters, there's really always been two different ways to go about it. Back in the day, it was face swapping or LoRa training, and now it's become, you know, Seedream, Nano Banana, Quant Image Edit, or LoRa training. And so both are really, really solid options. And so that's kind of the main goal of this workflow. So here you can see one of the results that I received from the workflow. Here's another one. One more here. Again, note that this necklace is consistent across every single one of these images. So the workflow is extremely simple. You load your image, set what output size you want, select the number of images you want, which works exactly the same as batch jobs for real skin that we talked about, and hit generate. You don't need a prompt. You don't need to describe your character or literally do anything. We will automatically generate prompts for you and then create basically an endless number of images of your character in different poses, different lighting conditions, different environments, different clothes, all of them consistent. So at the time of me recording this video, we don't have custom prompts in here, but we do intend to add it. And at the end of the day, the main purpose of this is to serve both the Seedream Nano Banana consistent character side of the market and those who are training LoRa's. We're going to be doing a video very soon on how to create your own LoRa dataset, or at least how we have approached it in the past. That's worked really well. And this is included as part of that process. You know, creating consistent lifestyle photographs of your character in different lighting conditions, different environments, things like that. But this is also meant to be relatively hands-off, where you can kind of input your image, set your batch, and just go. So it's a really interesting workflow. I mean, if you are creating a lot of LoRa's or have a lot of different models or consistent characters that you manage, I think it's interesting and worth trying out. At the end of the day, we're going to continue to expand on this in terms of, you know, full fashion photo shoots, influencer videos. That's kind of the long-term objective that I see here. And so this really serves as a stepping stone and one element of that. And last but not least, we will make a stop at pricing. So this is kind of where we stand right now. You have a few different options. You can go the traditional monthly route, obviously with, you know, different varying access, or you can stay free and only pay, you know, for individual credit packs. Now again, I want to emphasize the fact that every single person who generates through the platform gets an automatic refund on failed jobs. That's regardless of what tier you are, if any. Now the retry feature is dependent on your subscription level. So professional and business will have that, but novice will not. Free does have it though, but we haven't fully decided yet whether that will be limited or not. And again, guys, note that all of this is subject to change. The beta round is happening now, and we will be using that to inform a lot of decisions moving forward as well. and that ARM may extend into pricing dependent on the back-end performance. So just keep that in mind, but as of right now, this is kind of the plan. So that's it, guys, for today. I wanted to end off this video to new and old viewers of the channel and all of our subscribers. You know, this has been the biggest project I've ever done. I think this has been absolutely crazy. And, you know, you guys really made it possible, which is why I would love to hear back from you guys. I do appreciate, you know, the constructive criticism, and I'm trying to make this, you know, as fair as possible here. So thanks again to every single one of you. And again, if you found anything here interesting and are interested in getting access to the platform, make sure you check out the Patreon guide below for more detailed information, and then also see the Google Forms link to actually apply to the waitlist.